I'm delighted to be here to share with you our digital journey at Dublin Airport. Just a little about me. I've had a very diverse and varied career, spanning 10 years in underground coal mining, yes, at the coalface, 600 odd meters down underground, and certainly we needed to know where we were going when we were going out in front of uncharted ground, and we used to use seismic technology to understand where the coal was going and where it wasn't and where the faults were. That was back in the 1980s for me for 10 years. I then moved to the Scottish whisky industry after Arthur Scargill and Maggie Thatcher closed most of the mines in the UK. And I had 6 good years making whisky in Scotland before moving to Ireland, where I started making cider in a massive cider company making Magners and Bulmers ciders. And from that, I moved in 2010 to my current role, looking after all the engineering at Dublin Airport and asset management development. The chief executive of the day said to me, you've got 3 main priorities in this role. One is to get T2 opened up properly, brand new terminal being opened, and Heathrow T5 had just opened in advance of that, and they had an awful debacle with the baggage system there. And I think heads rolled, and I said to my wife, this might be a short stay at this job I've just taken on, because I had to operate and maintain the new baggage system in the new terminal. Suffice to say, I'm still here, fortunately. The other thing was to reduce costs and to sort of consolidate costs. We were in the middle of a recession at the time in 2010, a pretty world recession. I don't know how badly affected Singapore, but certainly Ireland took a fair share of the brunt. And I had an OPEX budget of 42 million euro, and I had a target to save on a 3-year short-term contract of 5 million euro to pull out of the business. And again, I'm still here. And then I had to kind of evidence to the major stakeholders, how good are we at managing our assets? And that's when I then looked at a benchmark to say, well, what would you benchmark a major asset company with? And I looked out at the ISO 55000 international asset management system and took us on a journey to achieve that. So this morning, for the next 20 minutes, I want to take you through a little bit just about the company. I want to take you through our asset management journey, and then particularly how technology is supporting that journey as we move forward. So DAA is a group of 4 businesses, Dublin Airport being the major airport in Ireland. Cork Airport is the 2nd largest airport, regional airport, and I have leadership responsibilities there. We have ARI, which is a top 10 international airport retailer, and we have DAA International, which is our consultancy division that currently are managing Terminal 5 in Riyadh. I'll get my notes going here. Dublin Airport's vision, building strong relationships that inspire Ireland's success. And we've talked a lot this morning already about relationships and connections, and they are certainly key in making us stronger in all that we set out to do. A few little stats about Dublin Airport. We've got this year, it'll be 32.5 million passengers. We're growing at about 6% per annum. Over 200 destinations served. We have uniquely a European gateway to the USA with a US pre-clearance. That means that passengers departing from Dublin Airport can arrive as a local passenger with no emigration to go through. And you can see that the number 2 route of connected cities in the world is between Dublin and London. So whilst Dublin Airport is, punching well against its European partners, I'm somewhat humbled to be here talking to you about airports when you have the world #1 airport here in Shanghai doing 62 million passengers, and everything that we look at is gold-plated. When you have, though, low-cost carriers, such as Ryanair, which is one of the biggest low-cost carriers, they just want bus shelters. to be departing from. So you have to kind of match the requirement to the customer demand, which is key. And I just a little bit of research, because we're two nations, Ireland and Singapore, of 5 million people or thereabouts. But Ireland is a pretty small country, but it's got 100 times the size in square kilometers that you have here in Singapore. And it kind of impresses on me that your land use, therefore, is much more important to you than perhaps it is in terms of planning terms than it is in Ireland. The route map there basically is showing how we're connected. We're not, unfortunately, connected here to Singapore directly, so I popped through London and had my first experience on the top deck of an A380 coming out, which was very nice. You can see the gateway through to the United States. We're positioned on the western side of Europe in Ireland, and you know, we're well positioned for transfers in Europe and then to go across the Atlantic, reaching through to the west coast of the States. I think what's interesting as new technologies emerge, they're also emerging in the aircraft industry as well. And what once was, you know, Shannon Airport, the most westerly airport in Europe, used to fly aircraft to New York, and they could only just get there. Now we've aircraft with technology that can reach a lot further. So what we have to make sure is competitive threats that we don't get bypassed in the future, and we still can offer that great value. This just shows a journey of ups and downs, really, of the, you know, we grew to 23.5 million or so passengers in 2008, and we then invested in a brand new terminal. Then the recession came, and then, you know, the chief, Michael O'Leary. Has anybody heard of Michael O'Leary? He's a very famous guy for the chief exec of Ryanair, and he turned up to the opening of our brand new terminal that we were all very proud of in an undertaker's suit, with a top hat and a coffin outside and the hearse, saying this will be the death of the airport, that we've created a white elephant. Suffice to say, the graph has shown now that we've expanded and had 8 years of consecutive growth. We've surpassed the 23 million that we had prior to the recession, and we're now booming ahead, and this year we'll be at 32.5 million passengers, although we do see things slowing down in Europe somewhat over the next few years ahead, due to sort of recessionary effects and Brexit, the like. On our journey towards being best in class at what we do, we were the first airport in the world in 2015 to achieve the ISO 50001 quality mark. We also have an energy system full of smart meters, full of locations, and we were certified to ISO 50001 for our energy management, and that's our aspirations to continually improve and reduce the amount of energy that we're using. Just a second or two, if I may, on our chief executive's plan on a page. This is his main communication tool he uses with the board, and he uses with the all his annual reports, and on there it simply says we want to be industry leaders, we want to increase the value of our business, and then there are 4 core pillars that we wish to pursue in pursuit of that. One is to reach new heights at our airport, and that's around delighting our passengers, partnering with our customers. We don't always say we're going to delight our customers, and there's a difference between a consumer and a customer, I'm sure you're all aware. And then stimulate growth, and we do that by having competition on routes. And then, you know, in my domain, it's looking after the be safe, the be secure, be reliable. Be the airport that everybody can move seamlessly through, safely, reliably, on time. And then building for the future is about unlocking capacity, building the new infrastructure required to meet the future needs, but it's also understanding and balance with that the license to grow piece, which is all around sustainability, environmental protection, and in the airport with particular issues obviously with noise pollution, air quality, and surface water. So we're focused heavily on those. The third box is around the sort of growing the revenue streams, and underneath it's develop great people and teams that are ready for tomorrow. And when you think about that, then we have the building trust. If people don't trust you, if you're going to give someone a phone now and say, we're going to track your every movement, right now in Dublin, we haven't got that trust. They wouldn't want that. The unions would say, no, we're not allowing you to do that. But put the telematics systems into vehicles, and yes, people can accept that there's a reason for that. So we have to build trust. We have to work efficiently. And it's already been said this morning about working effectively, working efficiently. Working effectively, for me, is doing the right things, and then working efficiently is all about doing the right things well. And then to support that efficiency by harnessing technology. So that's there in our plan about adopting and utilizing technology to help us work smarter as we move forward. It's underpinned by the company values. So we've got certain initiatives going forward to help us with our journey. We've got a 2 billion capital investment plan just being approved by the regulator. We've a new runway in construction that will come into completion in 2021, and with various other things going there. And whilst we have to develop this new capital plan, we're currently fairly capital constrained in terms of the capacity is mostly eaten up, and therefore we've got to rely on our digital systems to gear up more capacity, and that's evident through things like our baggage systems that have automated bag drops that we can put more people through, customs border patrol, again being automated, so it keeps the queues down, keeps the staffing efficient, and keeps the flow of passengers working well for us. So in asset management, we are a team of sort of 250 people in my section. We're managing over 33,000 assets and increasing. That's just the assets on the CMMS system. We haven't gone down to component level in every area, and we go down as far as we need to, depending on what value we're going to get by going lower in terms of our assets. We've about a 4 billion replacement value of our assets, and as I said, we're about to put in another 2 billion as we go forward. It's over 2,500 acres of a campus and 150 buildings. It's a mini city. It's not as big as Singapore for sure, but it's a mini city. It has a church, it has police stations, it's got 2 runways currently, it's got 2 terminals, 20,000 car park spaces, power generation, water, electricity, you name it, pretty well. It's there, you know, at a sort of mini city status. So we went on the journey of the asset management framework, ISO asset management 55001, and that's the framework that says you have to have your strategy, your strategic plan in place, and it has to, the company's strategic plan needs to link to the asset management plans. You have your organization, people and enablers, you have your asset management strategy, and your knowledge and enablers at the bottom of the information systems that you have enabling you to make the good decision making. A big tenet of asset management is on the right-hand side there is risk and how you manage risk and understand risks. And generally we control those through the asset life cycle through either treating them with OPEX or CAPEX as we go forward. When we started out, firstly, asset management is that little triangle for me. If anybody says what's asset management about, it's that little triangle that says it's getting the best value from your assets by balancing, getting the sweet spot between cost, risk, and performance of your assets. And if you can get that and then make optimized whole life cycle cost decisions on your future assets from learning from what you have with your existing assets, it's going to put you in a very good place going forward. And that sort of radar graph shows you where we were on our journey as we're expanding out and increasing our competence levels and asset management across those various summary headings that asset management relates to. The life cycle, really, I mean, if we start kind of at the operate and maintain, I'm operating and maintaining 4 billion euros worth on a net book value. It's about 2.3 billion of assets. It's a very old airport. It started in 1940, so there's a very mixed age of assets that we're dealing with, so they're all in different conditions as well that has to be taken into account. So we're looking at the risks that are coming off there, we're analysing the performance, And we've got new things coming in as well that's not on that diagram, such as new regulations we have to meet and aspire to. And then we're building on a yearly basis and a 5-yearly basis for our regulator the CapEx investment plans and the OpEx required to keep our business going. And then we build and commission, and then we go around the life cycle again. But hugely importantly is the asset spatial data integration. We'll have a whole set of different systems and vaults of storage, but if we can get them into the GIS type system, we can see and make better decisions with the different layers going forward. So that's key for us. This is a textbook graph basically, but I think it's a nice one. On the right-hand side, you've got the data going to information, the information going to knowledge, the knowledge going to wisdom, and on the left-hand side, you've got information management going to sense making, going to decision making, and then you're basically saying at the bottom, and as we rise up, we're decreasing the data volume because we have massive data volume being collected down here. We're decreasing the data volume, but we're increasing the information value as we go forward. And it's quite a nice little model, I thought, worth sharing. The next slide then is to basically say you can have all the technology in the world and all of the things you want, but if you don't have that without a purpose, then you're not connected and you don't really know where you're going, and you need a strategy to understand where it is you want to go. So you need to have your people in the right organization, aligned to the workflow. You need to have your processes here, from the strategic plan down to the on-the-floor 6-block lean workflow, through the data and information, through the asset management, health reviews and asset management plans aligned to the framework. So you have a system of processes that actually works for you. You have to be supported by the technology, and we'll come to that slide again, and you're getting the information to put the passenger at the heart of everything that we're doing. Just saw a timer out here, but there's no chance of this aircraft landing. It's going to be delayed, I'm afraid. The next slide here then is basically about the data analytics and information flow. Many organizations have disparate and separate systems here, in terms of they are not integrated. And, we've got our main airport systems put on there, and the only one that's probably not there is the HR and finance ones that need to be coupled together. And our enterprise asset management system we're just putting in at the minute is Maximo IBM, and the reason we're going for a new system is because its capability to integrate better with other systems. And then we're obviously installing GIS. We've been on the road, which I'll come to, about 3 years. We've obviously got our new buildings. Our 2 billion is going to be coming in BIM. How do we work those together? And I've very much come to the conclusion, listening at a lot of conferences, understanding where we are, that model that you've seen with the BIM flows and the GIS flows are what's there, because at one time I thought, well, BIM's going to take out GIS, but actually BIM is too complicated in the operating the assets side of things, and it's not intuitive enough to give you the database behind there. The other thing on there is the IoT of things. So you've got the graphs on sensors. So where we might have 1,100 motors in a baggage hall, and we used to send, and we do send people to them with fitting sensors currently that will allow alarms to come up so that we get targeted PMs going forward, so that we're working more smartly. This is the integration of the view I like in my world, is an enterprise asset management view. You've got the computer maintenance management system, the history of what's happened to the assets, the work that's planned for the assets. You've got the SCADA system that's saying what's happening right now in real time, and then the GIS is saying, where is this? What's the spatial effect of whatever's happening? So I'm going to flick through that one because that's already been covered, but GIS is a system of record. It's our single source of truth. It's our foundation stone in this area, and it's recognized now in the airport as that. It's a tool of engagement, allowing collaboration and allowing user interaction, and it's a tool of insight, turning data into information. we started the journey and we did a big report and we had a consultant in and he said it's going to cost you 5 million to put this GIS system in, and the chief exec and everyone said, you're joking, go away. So I did, and I then came back with the intention of, think big still, but let's start small. Let's get some early wins under our belt. Let's create a demand. Let people see the use cases of this. And we selected Esri, and I've been working in Esri with Esri Ireland on a program. We've built a strategy for our technology implementation, and also one separately for our GIS that links together with that. And we've got good multiple use users now in the community collaborating together, from security personnel, planning, operations, data analytics, commercial, and workflow management. So in the 3 years, we've kind of, the first year for us was all about getting the data in, the mapping, and then you start looking at the workflow integration, how we're going to integrate with the Maximo system at the end of this year. And then you're into properly, sort of mature problem solving as you go forward. And so you move from a spot at GIS-centric, you're building, to sort of business-centric as you move forward with that. But now we've built a very large dependency in the organization, and it's really moved on well with that. This we've talked about, and I've mentioned it, and it's been on 2 slides, so it's reinforcing the message, and no doubt it might come up again in another slide, but it seems a key slide, how we move from the building and the BIM to the GIS workflows, and GIS, for me, it was great when we saw 5 years of spreadsheets showing the wildlife strikes on the runway. They were locked in a spreadsheet computer. Nobody could see the information. It was all data. You plot it onto and then you can see where to put your, sort of in this case, where do you make all your wildlife mitigation measures? Where do you put your shots up? Where do you put your kites up with hawk birds and things like that to scare away, birds, in terms of bird strikes that can bring aircraft down. The mobility is key, so it's an enabler, it's efficiency, and it's a real-time enabler as well, and it's been adopted quite well now at Dublin Airport, more to go. And now we're into a little 2-minute, well, it's actually 5 minutes of a video that my GIS manager put together for me. It should be working now, this, just to show, and you've got to use my voiceover, so you're probably getting a bit sick of that just now, but Dublin Airport GIS portal, that's the page that everybody lands on. That's the page that anyone with an email address in our business can link onto and collaborate with that information. It's particular to the airport, with airfield pavement observations, with toilets and washrooms, noise, etc. And it's the home page. And we then move to the sort of AGLE, the ARC online system. And it is the main interface for our subject matter experts. They use a username and password protected, and they can obviously interfere with what's going on and report back and do audits. The EASA map was one of our core objectives of putting GIS in. We said to be compliant and have an aerodrome license, we need to comply with EASA. So this was our main objective and our main bedrock for putting the map in. It's showing all the gradients, the line markings, all the signage, everything that you need to be compliant. And we use that map to demonstrate to EASA inspectors that we are compliant. And that was a bedrock for us sort of getting in there. We also use it as an operational map now for airfield observations, compliance checks, audits. You can see, what was red is kind of a fault to be carried out, work still to be carried out, green is completed, and you get the reports and targets from that. Amber is work in progress. You can click, you can see from the photograph there, or the GIS image, and you can click on a photograph of the fault that's been reported, and you can see some cracked pavement there that needs to go into the work queue and be repaired. We can also do airfield observations, airfield coordination. So there's various different works and different work sites. You can see the new northern runway overlaid on there as a schematic, and that's in construction at the moment. And then from that, all the different functions can coordinate together and understand the impact, a bit like, when we were looking at a road closure in Poulon. And then from the airfield works coordination map, we're moving to the sort of PCN. This is the pavement condition number. It has to show that the pavements are strong enough to withstand certain types of aircraft. Each aircraft has an aircraft condition number, and the two need to match. Otherwise, one, the aircraft will be overloading. There's a 777 being selected, and it shows if it goes on those particular red pavements, the pavements will be overloaded, and therefore we need to do more inspections and more maintenance as a result of that going forward. And this, again, is a thing that we need that's approved. And that's showing over 7,000 lights that we have on our airfield lighting system, shows the relationship to which substation they're powered from and the CCRs that they're powered from. And you can see our airfield infrastructure, which is linear assets, is really well now developed into the Esri system, and we're getting a lot of benefit from that. And we can connect the airport operating system to the Esri map, and we can look at the hotspots, and by doing all of that, we can say, where we need to target our maintenance mostly. Here's the noise complaints. So you saw the noise contours. If you're in the red zone, you don't want to be living there. And if you're outside of the yellow zone, you're pretty well all right. And in between, we have to do various things like insulation schemes for certain houses and things like that. But we can see then the linkage then is to the sort of Fingal planning. And we have the planning going in. So here we're looking at a planning, and if they're in the obstacle limitation area for the flight path of an aircraft, then that's not good, and we would be straight on to, say you can't put a building there. And then here we're looking at noise complaints coming in by person, who's done them, and then we can tabulate and do heat maps of where most of the noise maps complaints are coming from. And work on that. And the various different filters, there's noise from 2011 to 2015 aggregated together. We're now moving into the building space, so we're moving into our terminals, we're mapping all the rooms, we're making sure the same identity on a computer maintenance management system is the same identity for rooms on the GIS system, so that they'll integrate well together. And you can use this for the lease management, for the commercial property management. When a lease is up, what revenue we're getting from that. So commercial property are delighted with this system in that way. And then we can use it as well for the maintenance in terms of, as said, and one of the hot spots for us right now, in that we are a little bit capacity constrained, is keeping the cleanliness of a toilet. So we have real-time sensors. Some of our toilet blocks are key blocks. We know what the usage rate are. We know what the happy or nots are coming back if people are unhappy, and we can send people in. And by using the maps, we can get through on that. So last two slides here. One is these are the key partners that we're playing with. We're playing with Esri in terms of the spatial. We're playing with, next up, the BIM 360 Autodesk. We've got Ignition for our SCADA. It's a great, very intuitive open platform for SCADA, bringing whole lots of information back from sensors to further integrate. IBM Maximo gives us, the big data to underneath the vital information that we need to work with. Here was my BIM manager that got the fortune of getting an award from Jack earlier this summer across in the United States. And that's the summary slide that basically says how GIS is being deployed at Dublin Airport, which in essence, if you've been listening for the last 20 minutes, it's all on there. Thank you very much.